Hi, good afternoon, everyone. We're starting the session now. Just to introduce myself, I am Hena and I manage digital engagement and outreach for Indian School of Public Policy. Thank you very much for joining the webinar. We appreciate your time. As you all know, today we have Dr. Kathuria, Dr. Vikas Kathuria as our key speaker, who is a senior research fellow at the Max Planck Institute in Innovation and Competition, Munich. He researches and writes on competition law and regulations in the data-driven market. Dr. Vikas earned his PhD from Tilburg Law and Economics Center in Netherlands. He has previously worked with the Competition Commission in India and has also taught at the Jindal Global University at the Bennett University. And Dr. Vikas, it's absolute pleasure to have you with us today. So
Thanks, man.
without any further delay, I'm handing over the session to Dr. Vikas. But before the session starts, I would like to inform you all that all the attendees are on listen-only mode. Any questions in regards to the session would be taken only in the Q&A session, which would be after half an hour. There is a small question box on your control panel. Please park all your questions if you have any during the session, and obviously after the session he will be directly taking all the questions. Over to you, Dr. Vikas.
Thank you so much, Hannah. So, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks so much for joining. I hope you're able to see my screen. If not, just let me know, Hannah. Is everyone able to see my screen?
Not now.
Okay. I would like to share my PPT with you so that I can walk you through it and we have a roadmap. I
Yes,
think
we can see the
you
screen.
can see my screen. Okay,
Yes.
wonderful. So, good afternoon, everyone. Well, it's a little different for me because before this, I used to teach, so I used to see the reaction of the students, but I would try my best because I can't see you. So, you know the topic is little technical. I would try to keep it as little technical as possible because I assume many of you do not know the framework of competition law. Many of you may be knowing what is Industry 4.0, what is data economy, etc. I'll just give you a brief overview before I walk you through the main content of the presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, so what is Industry 4.0? So basically, it's a word that has been coined by the Germans. Industry 4.0 is basically algorithmic economy. You use algorithm in order to make predictions. You know, algorithm is basically a mathematical model which gives you feed data into it and you give the relevant predictions. You use this kind of algorithm almost everywhere in the online economy now. If you have to do your online shopping, algorithms suggest you what is the next thing that you may want, whether you are interested in Nike shoes or Adidas shoes, or you are interested in a Parada bag or something else. So it's basically what you have interacted with the search engine or with the particular website. Based on it, it gives you the recommendations. Likewise, you have algorithms in search engines as well. Why has it become possible, algorithms, over recently? Is because of exponential rise in computational power. It was not possible in the past, but yes, the new technological innovations, incremental innovation, have made it possible. Also, unlike in the past, now the platforms, they have unprecedented access to data, amount of data that you and I create every single second we spend on the internet. So this was not possible in the past. What these platforms do, they aggregate this data, your data, my data, and data of several users that visit a particular platform, a particular website. Now, on an aggregate level, this data is called big data, which is characterized by three V's: volume, velocity, and variety. As I said, volume has become possible only recently because not many people were on the internet, and even if they were, it was not possible to gather, harvest data. Velocity means like speed of generating data. It has also increased because many people, they are continuously using the internet. Variety in data means the kind of data, not only your personal data, but also your behavioral data, which can be inferred from your personal data. Your personal data could be your name, gender, your sexual orientation, your geography, or it could be behavioral data, how you browse on the internet. Now, on an aggregate level, these three V's are called big data. Now, this big data feeds into algorithms, and then you get predictions, the relevant predictions. Okay. And all in all, this particular ecosystem, data interacting with algorithms, models, weights, etc., is called artificial intelligence. Now, this slide, I think, is important because many a times AI, machine learning, and deep learning, people confuse these terms. They mix up these terms. Well, there's nothing to be confused about it because, I'm not a tech guy, but the way we have understood so far is that AI is the broader rubric within which you have the subset of ML, and within the subset, you have deep learning. It's basically they use the same methodology, but the complexity increases as you approach from uh, artificial intelligence to deep learning. Computers always use artificial intelligence. You give them some programming and they would produce the result. Back in 1950s, we knew it. But then slowly and slowly, as the programs became more complex, they got more data. They started making smart predictions. So much so they would outsmart the programmers as well. Now, what we have, most of the search engines, most of the platforms, what they use this technology is called deep learning, which is extremely complicated, which is extremely nuanced. They used complex algorithms, and hence they give you far better predictions as compared to the past. Be it your Google search engine, DuckDuckGo, Bing, your Amazon platform, your Facebook, face recognition technique, etc. They use the methodology of deep learning. Excuse me. Now, why is data so important? Well, at the bare level, data is nothing but just the information that you share with the internet. Now, what data does is it provides better content, how you interact with, say, for example, Facebook. If Facebook has more knowledge about you, it gives you suggestions based on your personal likes and dislikes, the kind of news that you are interested in. It gets to know through your browsing history, and accordingly, you get the same kind of content. Now, please remember what happened in the UK, the Facebook Analytica thing, that because Facebook started sharing your data with the election campaigners, and then accordingly, they started targeting users. And it results into an echo chamber because you do not get to hear a counter view. So it reconfirms a person's confirmation bias. It strengthens a person's confirmation bias, which of course is a bad thing, but I'm not going to discuss about it today. Let me just more focus on the competition side, that how data is harvested, how platforms try to outcompete each other when it comes to accessing data. But before that, you need to know why data is so important. So as I said, that the information you share with the platforms, it lets the platform uh, personalize the content with you, and as a result you spend more time. And once you spend more time, because the platform has become more relevant to you, they can target you through advertisements. And mind it, these advertisements are also customized based on your browsing history. They know what you are interested in, so they can target you rather than carpet bombing you with generic advertisements. All right. Now, this is a little technical stuff that, the time you spend there, the data you share, they trigger direct and indirect network effects. Indirect network effects is basically that two sides of a platform. It's sort of a positive feedback loop. I'm not going to get into it. It's technical. I do not know the background of my students, my listeners. That's why I just leave it for now. But you can take it from here is that the more time you spend, the more data you share, the more valuable the platform becomes, not only for you, but also from the advertisers, for the advertisers that fund the very much content. Because for you, Facebook is free. For you, Google is free. All right. Now let's proceed to some real cases. As of now, you know a little bit about theory. I'll share three instances with you where it has been found, or the investigation is ongoing, that big tech companies like Facebook, Amazon, Google, how they can, harm the consumers, how they can, to what extent they can go to make sure that exclusively they take user data so that they stay continuously relevant, and how it makes the competitors extremely uncomfortable because they cannot come and compete with the incumbents. So the very first case that I want to discuss with you is the Google Android case in the EU. Now, this Google Android case in the EU, the investigation started in early 2010 or 2011. It took a long time. Now, you must have seen that, if you do not know the Google Android's business model, many of you have Google Android. So now what Google Android does, it's an open platform. Google shares its source code with all the equipment manufacturers, be it Xiaomi, Samsung, Motorola, or for that matter, any other Chinese or Indian mobile uh, equipment manufacturer. However, Google says that if you want to use Android, we are not charging you, but you have to comply with three conditions necessarily. First of all, you have to exclusively pre-install Google Search and Chrome browser on your equipment. So many of you who have bought Android recently must have noticed that Google Search and Chrome come pre-installed on their phone. Now, what's wrong with it? Like, you can, if you are interested, say for example, in Bing or DuckDuckGo, you can deinstall Google Search and you can reinstall Bing or any other platform which lets you search the internet. However, behavioral economics is at play. Now, behavioral economics insight suggests that people like you and I, like lay consumers, they're prone to status quo bias. Whatever we are given, if it's a optimal product, if it's a good product, we would not want to make an effort to switch to another product. Why? Because we're busy, we are listening to seminars, we are doing our own things. So average consumers, by and large, stick to an optimal solution which she has been given on a platform. So many people end up using Google Search and Chrome all their life or during the lifetime of the phone. Now, what happens? Because of this, only Google is getting your data, only Chrome is getting your data, and essentially it goes to the same big giant Google. And Bing is not getting access to your data. DuckDuckGo is not getting access to your data. And if they don't get access to your data, they are never in a position, their algorithms never get to train so much so that they can compete with Google or for that matter, any other incumbent. They stay average. And we do not want as consumers average platforms. We want like the best platforms, right? Because there is no switching cost. Now, this is one of the reasons why Google was found to be violating competition law. You may be asking, some of you already know about competition law. If you don't know about it, I would just give you a brief background. I'm not getting into it. Perhaps for some other day, I can tell you in greater detail. Competition law is basically, it's a law which ensures that there is a rivalry in the market. People compete with each other because competition generates good results. Prices are low, there is innovation, there is productive efficiency, there is dynamic efficiency. So it's overall, it's good for consumers, it's good for the economy. Now, the European Commission, they said that, look, this condition is bad, you cannot exclusively pre-install. Hence, you have to do away with it. Now, the second condition that Google Android was imposing on the equipment manufacturer was that, okay, in Play Store, Google had a dominant position. Dominant position is a special position of market power, which enables you to act independently of your consumer. Again, it's a competition law concept. You can just, for now, keep it in your mind. I can explain it in later seminars, but it was found dominant. Only then it triggers competition law, okay, for the purpose of this particular case. Now, it was saying that, look, if you have to take Play Store is, you know what it is. It's basically, it's a mother application which lets you download different other kind of application. So it's a two-sided market. On one side, you have users, and on the other side, you have app developers. It lets you access the app developers. Now, Google said that, look, there is no other way to download application. Even if there is, it's quite cumbersome. We're giving you Play Store for free, but make sure that you also take from us Google search. If you do not take Google search, we are not going to give you Play Store. Now, this was another way to make sure that people just browse on Google search. People just put their queries on Google search, and hence Google would keep benefiting from data. Nobody else would get access to data. So through this, also, they made sure that only Google stays in your phone, nobody else. The last thing was that Google paid huge amount of money to some big equipment manufacturers. Well, Google has been paying Apple, if you know that, billions of dollars every year to exclusively pre-install Google search. So even if you are a Apple user, you must be seeing that Google is already there when you buy it. So this year, I guess, no, last year, 2018, Google paid $2 billion to Apple just to pre-install Google search. You know that pre-installation is just one thing. You can deinstall it maybe in 5, 6 steps, but nobody does it. Not at least an average consumer does it. Now, what is the sum total effect of all these conditions? Now, these conditions just make sure that Google exclusively stays on your phone. And the longer it stays, the more people use it, the more data it gets. And with this data, it stays more relevant. So it's sort of like a chain reaction, indirect network effects, a feedback loop, something akin to the Microsoft case of the 1990s. All right, I'm not getting into it. It's a little different, but the idea is the same, that you use indirect network effects to your benefit. And that's how you outcompete your rival. Google in this case was found to have abused its dominant position, and it was fined $5 billion just last year. And just to let you know, many other countries are pursuing the similar case against Google, including the Competition Commission of India. We can hear from the commission anytime soon whether they have taken action against Google or not. But now you know the case, right? Wonderful. So the next case then I want to discuss with you, again, in this case, the motivation of Facebook, another tech giant, was to gain access to user data, the data that you and I generate every single second on the internet. How they were doing it, that was problematic. Because when you spend time on Facebook, you definitely tell Facebook, look, this is what I am interacting with, this is who my friends are, this is what I like, this is what I dislike. Maybe I like pasta more than, say, for example, pizza. So it knows more about you. And the more it knows about you, the better the predictions become over a period of time. And hence, the advertisers can target you. Also, the second thing is that if you find Facebook quite relevant, if you know if Facebook knows what actually you want to hear, it makes Facebook more appealing. You spend more and more time. You don't want to go to, say, for Expo. You do not want to go to any other startup company. So in order to benefit from data, what Facebook did, that not only was it taking the data when you were visiting the Facebook site, it was also taking your data from the partner sites. Well, I can't ask a direct question, but you may have noticed Facebook login page, perhaps when you were browsing on a news portal, say for example, Washington Post, say for example, NDTV, continue with Facebook. Now, what is it? Is there something wrong with it? Well, actually, yes. This is called Facebook API, Application Programming Interface. Now, this API is embedded on the partner news website. As soon as you see the continue with Facebook, like or share button on a third party website, it means that it has got a Facebook embedded API. So even if you are not clicking on this button, invariably, this news website is also sharing your data with Facebook. So Facebook not only gets data from its very own website, but it also gets access to data from the partner website, and it clubs the data so that it knows more about it. So say for example, there is a girl Anita. Not only do they know that Anita, who she interacts with, what she wants to eat, what all the places she wants to go. Perhaps she prefers Khan Market more than Connaught Place. They also know what she wants to read, whether she is interested in fashion, whether she is interested in international relations, or she's interested in tech news. Accordingly, they can target her more precisely about her likes, about her dislikes, and advertisers can custom, it's sort of like a custom targeted advertisements for Anita. So you can see that how beneficial it is for Facebook to club your data from partner website. But here comes the problem. Now, the Bundeskartellamt, which is the German competition watchdog, is just a watchdog, just like the Competition Commission of India. It said that, look, Facebook, you are a dominant player. Again, as I said, that only when you are dominant, the competition law comes into play for these particular purposes, not for other purposes. You know, when we are studying competition law, I can tell you in greater detail, but just take it for now that Facebook was found dominant player in the social media market. So it means that there was nobody which was competing effectively with Facebook. Most of us want to be on Facebook. All right. Now the Bundeskanzleramt said that, okay, look, you are harvesting data, cultivating data from a partner website. For this, users are not giving their informed consent. Facebook is about either take it or leave it basis. You cannot negotiate with Facebook. And tell me something, how many of us actually bother to go through the terms and condition of Facebook before we log in, before we create an account there? I never did that. Now, again, this is what an average intellect, average consumer who is quite busy, who has no idea about the technical backgrounds, operates on the internet. We just tick the box and say accept all, and then we log on to the Facebook account. Now, so the Bundeskartellamt said that, look, this is bad. This users are not giving informed consent, and hence it violates German data protection legislation. Now, Germany is quite peculiar because if you end up violating, if a dominant player ends up violating any law which is aimed at protecting their consumer, it also results in the violation of competition law. This is something peculiar to Germany. It's not peculiar to India or, for that matter, any other country. So we will see the treatment of this case under different legislation in other countries. However, in this case in Germany, they ended up violating competition law, and the German competition agency said that, look, remove your APIs from the third-party website. You just can't do it. All right. Now, if it happens, say, for example, in European Union, in any other country, perhaps the best tool would be a data protection legislation. In India, we still have a bill, right? Data protection bill, which would see the light of the day sometime soon. Okay. Now, the third and the last case that I want to discuss with you is Amazon self-preferencing. These are an investigation is going on against Amazon in the EU and specifically in Germany as well. These are two separate investigations. These are not just one. So they may take different direction. Now, what Amazon does, what is an Amazon, if I may ask you? Many of you would say that, okay, look, it's a platform, it's a two-sided market. On one hand side, you have merchants, vendors who display their products on the platform, and on the other hand side, on the other side of the platform, it's us, people like you and I. If I have to buy crockery, if I have to buy sneakers, if I have to buy anything, I just go look at the preferences, and look at the suggestions, and then accordingly I buy the product on Amazon. But this is not the end of the story. The world is not so simple. What Amazon does, that Amazon has its own line of merchandise, which is called Amazon Basics, right? I'm sure you people know about it. So what Amazon does, it has a dual capacity, is wearing two hats at the same time. Not only is it providing a platform where you can display your product, but also it competes with your product on the very same platform, on its own platform. Now, what's wrong with it? Well, the world would have been very simple if things would have ended here. No, but what Amazon does is that it gathers data from its merchants. Say, for example, umbrellas. It's a very simple example, but simplicity has its advantages. Now, there are 5 vendors on the platform who sell umbrellas. Amazon takes data of all these umbrella sellers. What was the size of umbrella? What's the color of the umbrella? What was the return rate of the umbrella? Who was the targeted audience? How did the merchants target this audience? Now it takes this data and uses this data to develop and brand and advertise its own product. And invariably, if you get to know about the market response to a particular product, you can improve the product. But Amazon, instead of sharing this data with the merchants, it uses to develop its own line. And invariably, you would see that with more and more data, with more and more knowledge about user preferences, it would compete with, or rather outcompete, its merchants who have paid some money to come on its portal. Now, this is discrimination. This is called self-preferencing, which is again abuse of dominant position. Now, this investigation has just started. It hasn't ended. It's in the nascent stage, but you can expect that by the end of this year, the European Commission will be out with its decision. Now, Margaret Vestager, who is the competition commissioner in the EU, she came up with this this quite poignant observation when the investigation would start against Amazon. So she said that, do you then also use the data to do your own calculation? Well, it's all about Amazon, right? As to what is the new big thing, what is that people want, what kind of offers do they like to receive, what makes them buy things. That has made us start a preliminary investigation. So it's like taking the data from the user, which is so important, putting in your algorithm, getting to know about responses, and then using these responses to outcompete your rival in the market. So this was my third case. This is my last slide. You just have to bear with me for 2 more minutes. So what policy tools? How do we make sure that there is enough competition in the market? These people do not arm twist consumers and do not arm twist their competitors, because only if they compete, we as consumers will benefit from lower prices, better quality of products, and new innovative products. Okay. So the first tool is competition law. The cases that I discussed with you, they were under the rubric of competition law, barring the German Bundeskartellamt action against Facebook. But this can very well be analyzed under competition law. Okay, and the second tool could be data protection law. Now, data protection law, it's a reality. It's a reality of the modern times when you're generating hordes of data, swathes of data on the internet, how it needs to be protected, minimalization of data. You don't take data which perhaps you don't need. Data, if you're sharing for a specific purpose, should not be shared for another purpose. Data which you have shared with Facebook, you can port it to another portal. So these all things are enshrined in data protection law. In the EU, the piece of data protection legislation is called the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. We have something similar which is taking shape in India in the form of the Data Protection Bill, which perhaps would soon turn into Data Protection Act. Now, the third thing is in itself is a big thing, like user privacy. When you are spending time on the internet, they get to know everything about us, the kind of information that you would not want them to know. It gives rise to privacy concerns. But again, this is a topic which is for another day. It has a different dimension, like technological dimension, what you need to share, what is personal data, what is non-personal data, what are the constitutional aspects of privacy. These things are also being debated in India, as you would be knowing. So this is the realm of law. In the realm of regulation, people are also advocating that perhaps these tech giants have gone way too astray. They cannot be tamed by the application of law. So rather, let's break it. We haven't had many examples when the tech giants were broken, or for that matter, industries were broken. 1912, Standard Oil was broken into different small companies in the US, but it was not very successful because after 10 years, they started coming back together. The second example was uh, in 1980s, the Bell companies, like when the big telephone company was broken into 8 small parts in the US. But again, it was not a successful exercise. So we do not have much experience with breaking the tech giants, but because of these concerns that I shared with you, people are advocating, like, for example, the senator in the US, Elizabeth Warren, she's suggesting that let's break the tech giants. The second could be the Chinese walls. If Amazon is a platform, it should stay as a platform. And if you want to get into merchandise, if you want to sell your merchandise, have a separate arm which can compete effectively with others without accessing their data. So draw a Chinese wall between separate businesses of one undertaking. However, it's not easy. There are other issues. If you break down a company, there are problems with productive efficiency. Perhaps there are production losses to dynamic efficiencies as well. So how do you reconcile these conflicting objectives? This is the challenge for the new economy. This is the challenge for the policy, which people are debating in the EU. Mostly, they are also debating in the US and yes, in India as well. Now that you know what the issues are, I hope you will be able to understand the directions that we are taking. And for further studies, you can get in touch with me, or you can do your own search, and then we can discuss it further. I hope you found this presentation a little informative. Thank you so much. Thank you. I end the discussion now. Okay, so I have already started getting questions. Okay, the first question that I get is from Nagmat Sawant. What is data policy law in India and doing all these things in digitalization, but India has have data store privacy law? Well, I'm not sure if I'm getting your question correctly. We do have a draft legislation which is still being debated, the data protection uh, bill, but we can discuss it separately because this bill talks about privacy. This bill talks about data localization. This bill also talks about data portability. But this is not the only legislation that can help consumers. You also have consumer protection law. You also have competition law. These tools are aimed at different problems. Today, what I discussed with you was directed at the market power of these big giants. And that's why I spoke about competition law. So, in addition to competition law, you can also bring in consumer protection law. Say, for example, you know that you have been given suboptimal product. You can approach the consumer protection agency, and definitely, once the bill comes into force, you can employ this data protection legislation against the tech giants. But my presentation today was just aimed at telling you that how competition law as a tool can be used against big techs. Okay, I hope I have answered your question. Okay, the next question again, I don't think I am the best person to answer this question. The question, how much does incognito mode on browsers help protect user data about their activity on the internet? But from my little experience, I can tell you that not much. This is my short answer, but perhaps you can talk to a tech guy who can tell you more. I'm a lawyer who understands a little bit about economics and technology, so I'm not best placed to answer this question. Whew. The next question, it's a very interesting question. Is there any country that has ideal or close to ideal data protection laws? Well, the answer is no. We don't know. Look, these problems started recently. This the rise of algorithmic economy, the rise of big data. So what we now have in the European Union, they have now in the European Union is the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. But again, it's not set in stone. People are still debating about it on its provision, data localization, data portability. the exceptional circumstances when the data can be shared with other websites as well. So we are still in a stage where things are being debated. People are exploring. People are seeing what is the best way to you know best way to tame the power of these big giants, the best way to make sure that they do not use their market power, they do not use their position to the disadvantage of consumers. And that's why it is important for India and Indians also to participate, because we in India use internet. We are also using platform economy. We are, of course, I would say, we are a developing country. For us, it makes more sense to make sure that the power of internet is used to the benefit of common consumers. There is competition. Because of information asymmetry, because of their little knowledge about technology, consumers are not duped. That's why we need to catch up in the debate. Okay, but to answer your question, that there is no optimal solution yet. People are debating, people are discussing, and we are approaching towards the solution. I hope that. Well, the next question, can you please explain the concept of machine learning and direct network effects with example? Look, machine learning and direct network effects. Prima facie, they may see that, okay, what is the connection between them? Now, let me try. So, direct network effects is basically a phenomenon when a platform becomes more lucrative, a service becomes more lucrative, a product becomes more lucrative if more and more people use it. So if there are 10 people using the product, the utility of the product or the utility of the service will become better or more if 15 people use it. From the bygone days, say for example in the village there is just one phone line, you would not bother to buy a phone because there is just one person you can talk to. But if there are 10 people in the village or in a small loop who are having access to the phone, now the utility of this phone would be more. So it will make you join the platform. And these direct network effects, you can see at display, you can see it in action, especially in social media platforms. If 10 of my friends are on Facebook and only two of my friends are, say, for example, on MySpace or on any other platform, I would much rather want to go on Facebook because I can talk to 10 people. Okay, these are direct network effects on social media platform. Now, if you spend more time because of direct network effects, if more people come on Facebook because of direct network effects, Facebook gets much more data as compared to its rivals. Now, this data trains the machine learning algorithm better than the algorithms that rivals use, and hence it becomes stronger and stronger over a period of time. So that means it's sort of a feedback loop. The more time you spend, the better it gets, the better it gets, the more time you spend. And hence, it becomes extremely difficult for the competitors to fight you, to give you a challenge. Well, mind it, in social media, on social media networks, on platform, there is just not direct network which is at play, also one-sided indirect network effects, because the more the consumers, the more the users, the more the advertisers. You do not bother about advertisements. Many of us don't bother about advertisement. That's why we do not have two-sided network effects. One-sided network effects is also at play. That's why with more and more number of users, Facebook gets more advertisements, more value for their advertisements, more money from their advertisers, and hence it can employ it to further expand its outreach. All right, it's a little economic discussion for now, so those who are not comfortable with it may leave it. Those who can understand it, I'm happy to deal it with discuss it further. Okay, Anjali, I think I answered your question. The second and the next one is okay, I heard that organizations like Facebook, Google, Amazon are hiring public policy professionals. I want to know what role do they play? Well, look, again, I don't think I'm the best guy to answer. In my limited experience, I would say yes, they definitely do hire. Not necessarily to lobby for them, but also to interact with the concerned uh, players. with the stakeholders in order to know what they are thinking about the operation of Facebook. If you have to stay in India, you need to be in compliance with the Indian ethos, with the Indian constitution, with the Indian laws, with the Indian public policy, so to say, in general. And you take it back to the organization and tell them, look, these are the concerns. We need to be proactive. We need to make sure that these things do not happen. And at the same time, I have seen in seminars that these public policy professionals, they know about the operation of the platform much better than the layperson, much better than the academics. So on their part, they also tell the professional that, look, not everything is bad. We do it for a reason. This is the reason. So it's a two-way street. It's a two-way role for the public policy professional. First, to educate the organization they work for, and also to educate the masses, to educate the consumers. All right. Okay, there are many other questions. Okay, the next one is with reference to RTI and data protection. Should these IT giants be compelled to share their data collected from users or revenues generated by the same? If so, and how it is, how and what are the implications? Okay, IT giants are compelled to share their data collected from users or revenue generated by the same. Okay, this is a tough one. With reference to RTI and data protection, now there are several questions in this statement. Now, RTI can be employed only if a particular platform or particular business is also it's performing a business which has which is in the form of public service, like educational institution. If they're even if they are private, they can be subjected to RTI. I am still not sure if these private businesses perform that particular task. There are questions. Even Mark Zuckerberg said that, okay, look, we are a utility and treat us like the same. And if you are like a utility, like electricity or power generation of electricity or telecommunication, you become subject to regulation. And as such, you can be regulated. And the next question, which Dhawan asks, is should these IT giants be compelled to share their data collected? Now, again, it's a big issue. Data is the source of their business. The data that Facebook has harvested, the data that Google has harvested makes them relevant on the market. So prima facie, your hunch should be that no, why should they be sharing? But at the same time, you know that because of this data, they are also performing things which are not good for the consumer. Now, so there are two conflicting sides. On the one hand side, you see that it is important for the market players to stay on the market. This is the data that they have harvested. It should not be snatched away from them. Should you do that, you will be disincentivizing them. On the other hand side, you know that maybe this data is good. Maybe this data would be socially optimal if it is shared with the rivals. I would say that in some cases, yes, it can be shared, but there are huge standards. There are very high standards, even in competition law. Such kind of data can be shared if it leads to the creation of in exceptional circumstances, such as like a new product. If it gives way to a new product, then it can be shared. But this is something which hasn't been employed yet, because there is a big philosophy about it that you should not disincentivize the market players, especially in a market which is still evolving. Okay. And the second is that from users or revenues generated by the SIM. Again, this is something people are discussing, and just a few days back, I saw that a particular platform is willing to sharing the revenues from advertisement with its users, because the users use their data, share their data with the platform. So it could be a business model. I'm not saying that it can't be, but the viability of this model has to be tested, and it depends definitely on the preference of consumers. All right. So all these three things, Dhawan, these are important. They are still being debated, and there are precedents. There are examples. First, whether the data should be shared, whether the players be forced to share their revenues. Now, one thing I suddenly remember that in Germany, there is a proposal that BMW, Mercedes, and Audi, they should be sharing their data with each other, not only with each other, with small players as well. And there is a huge backlash. There is a huge pushback from these incumbents that look, no, because we spend money, we spend a lot of money and talent on harvesting data. We should not be forced to share it with our rivals. Okay, so there are conflicting views, and as the task of the law is to strike a balance in the society and strike a balance in the industry, this is what the task of law will be in, even in the platform economy. Okay, we see the next question is by Shubham. We see all the tech giants using customers' personal data to dominate the market. So if a company is following all the competition and data protection ethics, will it be able to achieve success? Customers' personal data dominate the market. So if a company is following all the competition data protection, why not? Why not? There are ethical ways to do the business as well, right? And when the consumers become smart, they become more sensible about sharing their data with these tech giants. They have to fall in definitely in line, like the Consumer Protection Agency, especially in the EU, the Competition Agency. If they become strict, these big giants cannot afford to go astray. Look what happened when Facebook shared its data without your information with marketing agencies that targeted the users during the Brexit time, during Trump's election. People stopped believing in the platform. And when they stopped believing in the platform, they started signing out of Facebook. They started uh, leaving Facebook. And it was a wake up sign for Facebook. I don't know. I'm sure there are some economists in the group I'm interacting with. Market for lemons back in 70s when it's basically a theory in economics. Back in 70s when these second-hand used car dealers they started selling bad cars, it reduced the confidence of users of consumers in this particular line of business. They said that look, we are not going to buy, and overall it decreased the value of the platform, decreased the value of the business of used car market. I'm telling you in a very crude way, but the idea is that if you do not repose trust in your business, eventually the consumers will switch to different other business models, and as a result, you would lose out your business to your rivals. Now, DuckDuckGo, what does DuckDuckGo do? Its subscribers of DuckDuckGo is increasing because it says that look, we are transparent, we are not like Google. We tell you whatever we are doing. We do not take your data without your permission. We do not plant a cookie without your information on your computer. And this is their business model. They are showing that they are different because they value your privacy much more than any other search engine. Okay, so it is definitely possible. Right. How do you see the debate of freedom of expression versus regulating content on social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and WhatsApp? Now, Manu, it's a pertinent question, but again, for this question, I have to delve into other things, things other than competition law. Today's presentation was just focusing on approaching the platform economy from the competition law standpoint. Your question is extremely pertinent that there has to be a balance between freedom of expression versus regulating content. But unfortunately, this is not the topic for today. So perhaps in the future we can talk about it or somebody else can talk about it, you know, but not today, right? Because for that, I need to explain it to you that what is income platforms liability, what are the repercussions of fake news, etc. But this is something which we did not discuss today. Okay, that's a good question. Algorithms are available not only to businesses, but can be used by criminals as well. How do we deal with this? Well, the answer is a little difficult one, right? How do you perhaps you counter them with algorithms too? Now, in the credit card market, what happens? Have you ever noticed like you go to a new place or you end up buying something which you have never bought in the past. Say, for example, you are a student who has been buying books, who has been buying clothes perhaps thrice or four times a year, and then you end up buying luxury product. Now, this is something which the credit card agencies keep a tab on. They aggregate your data, they use their algorithms to know that this is a question by Jhalak, so what Jhalak is interested in. Now, if Jhalak switches to something which is completely new, something which does not match her past user pattern. This alarms the credit card agency, and then you end up getting a call from the agency that, look, did you buy this product? Did you make this investment? Did you make this swipe? So you are using algorithms to detect fraud, okay? And lot many companies, lot many businesses, they invest in this kind of fraud detection for which also they relied on algorithms. All right. The next question is that AI accentuates concerns about technological sovereignty and wealth inequality. How far competition law of India and the provisions given in are able to ensure the same? So again, Anjali, this is a question. I think you already asked a question. No problem. We have asked this question. We have 5 more minutes to go. It's 9:27. We can. I think I can take this question. AI accentuates concerns about technological sovereignty and wealth inequality. Now, look, competition law is not a regulation. There would be inequality in the market. And unless inequality is triggered by your dominant position, by abuse of dominant position, competition law can't do anything. For that, you have regulation, taxations, etc. So, one giant, one sword. I would not confuse law to be, the magic competition law to be the silver bullet, which can perhaps magic bullet, which can help you deal with each and everything. What competition can law can do is it can tame the market power of the big giants, market power in a way that it is beneficial to the common consumer. Okay, but as I said, that this is not the only tool. Some people have asked the questions about freedom of expression, fake news, etc. There are other tools as well, data protection, consumer law. uh, they would be brought into action, right? Now, the next question is, generally we don't take silence as external something, but in this way this is being used in wrong way. Please reflect on this. Generally, we don't take silence on acceptance of something. Well, that's true. That's true, definitely. And that's why I in India you still don't get it. But what happens like in Europe, like when I even the Hindu news portal website, when I have to read something, I go to the website, I get like now a long message that look, this is what we are doing, this is how we are using the cookies. Say yes if you want to proceed. If I say no, I cannot access the Hindu news portal. Likewise, it happens with Live Mint as well. Now, it used to happen, some people used to do in the past, some businesses used to do in the past, some portals used to do in the past, but now it has been made extremely mandatory by the GDPR, and India will also follow the suit soon. Okay, so it is not that silence will always be construed as acceptance. You will have to click on the button, I accept. Out of foot again. However, how do you think the media should help improve the situation of unfair competition in data-driven markets? I'm not sure, Anushka, if I understand this question. Could you just clarify this question? Like, how do you think media should help improve the situation of unfair competition in data-driven markets? Do you mean like information asymmetry? So perhaps a clarification would help me answer the question better. Okay, so with this, I finish all the questions. I just wait for a couple of more minutes for any extra other question. And if we don't have any other question, we can end the session. And I would please, yeah.
Hi, thank you so much, Dr. Vikas, for such an insightful session. I think all the questions ends here, and also that we are short in time. So, any more questions in regards to the topic? Students can actually write to us at contact@ispp.org.in, and we can share it with you, Dr. Vikas, for uh, you to answer those questions for our students. If that would be a really great help to us and the students as well. I'm sure it added a lot of value to all the attendees. For all the attendees, this recording, there is a recording of this video will be shared with everyone for future references. You can also find this video on our YouTube channel, ISPP in Motion. And as I also said, you can write to us at contact@ispp.org.in for any queries you have in regards to the topic or anything else in regards to Indian School of Public Policy or our program. Just a gentle reminder, the last day of our application for round 3 is 20th May. So apply soon. Thank you so much, Dr. Vikas, for your time again.
Thank you so much, Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks. Have a great weekend.
You as well.